Hello, this is Mike at GameFromScratch, and today we're looking at a product called Clara.io. Now, as you might be able to guess by that name, this is in fact a web application. And that used to be a bit of a negative. We used to look at a lot of web applications as being more or less toys, other than, of course, email, messaging, that kind of stuff. But to actually do things such as, create documents like the equivalent of Google Docs, or in this case, 3D modeling in the browser has never been a great experience. And this one actually comes a very far way. So again, it's Clara.io, and on top of being a full modeler and rendering package, it's also got the ability or built-in library of assets, all licensed under the Creative Commons, making them pretty much free to use for you. And it's also gotten more tightly integrated with game edges as time has gone on. So if you are a game developer and you are looking for a web-based modeling solution, or you are looking for assets to use in your game, Clara is definitely something that should be on your radar. Now, since it is, in fact, a web-based application, you just go to Clara.io and sign up for a free web account. We'll look in a second at the different ways that they make money, so the different tiers of pricing as you go. But do know you can pretty much do everything you want using a free account, at least initially. And once you've signed up, your results look something like this. So you see across the top, you've got developer documentation, normal user documentation, some video tutorials on getting you up and going. And then your main part here is you either create a new scene, upload an existing scene, and the upload scene supports a number of different file formats, including FBX Collada, which is DAE, OBJ format, STL, JPEG, PIG, and many others. So you simply just either drag and drop a file in there, or pick, select, and use a file browser, etc. So you work with an existing model, or you can upload an asset, or you can grab something from their library, which we'll see shortly. In this particular case, I'm using this medieval house that I've already created. So here it is, and this is Clara.io's main interface. This is where you do the majority of your work. Now, if you've worked in 3D Studios Max or a similar program, this will be immediately comfortable. In fact, you'll notice when you're actually in model mode, so see up here, you've got your select, move, etc. Those use your standard QWERTY hotkeys. At the same time, to navigate your view, it's all middle mouse button. So scroll wheel zooms in and out. Middle mouse button held done is orbit, and then control and middle mouse button is pan. So that's your standard view. And you see you've got a quad view look at the world. Now I'm not sure why, oh, there we go, we're off center. So you can see the various different views. You can also see you've got your standard manipulator here. So here I am handling a spotlight, and you can see the immediate results in real time in the viewport. You've got your standard gizmo for doing your different manipulations. And as we switch between, you see we've got rotation and scaling gizmos as well. So if you have used Blender, Max, or Maya, this should be immediately familiar to you. The most of the functionality you actually expect is in here. Now, on top of your traditional navigation, etc., we've also got your quad view here. We can switch between different views via that mode right there. So we can switch your your major, your front, back, left, right, top, bottom. We can also switch the rendering style between wireframe and realistic, and we can also do preview renders. So if I click here, we can actually do a fast preview or standard preview, and that's the end result we're seeing right here. Now this package is integrated with the V-Ray renderer, so at any particular time that you want, you can take a guy and send it over to the renderer. So we can say here, render this frame, and it's going to render this image right here. You'll see it spitting away in the background, and we can just let it run and do that. Now the number of renders you get is set to your actual package. We'll see that in a little bit. But this is actually going to go ahead and render a sprite for us using the V-Ray renderer. We can go over and see it in action, I believe, by switching over to the render view here. We can see the work that it's doing, its various different passes. Should update in a minute, but oh, it's actually, there we go. So you can see there is the renderer going through its various different passes, and then when it's done, it's going to give us a link that we could go ahead and download our end rendered result. And we got other things integrated in. We can set up your environment. You can have background lights, etc. You can also come in here, bring in various materials, which you can see down here from the material library that are pre-designed and previewed, that you can apply these as textures, etc. to your scene. Switch back, okay, so over here we have general. This is basically your scene graph. Okay, so there you see, our rendering is now done. We could go ahead and download the JPEG file it generated by clicking here. I don't really care to, but there was how the renderer is integrated. This you can basically see the two groups that make up our different stuff. We can toggle visibility. using these guys. These are your more or less your scene graph. These are the materials used by this particular scene. There's your renderer settings. You can see over here you can configure how they particularly work. And then here are the pieces that go together to make up. So there's the roof, for example, and you can see now it's highlighted. I could toggle it on and off. And that is, so essentially your scene graph, the various different things that make up your scene. Go back here, back to tools. We got various options available there. Go back to our modeling. So with something selected, actually for modeling, I'll show you from a new file. So new, empty scene. All right. So create an empty scene here. YouTube demo. So you can set up how it's going to render, and then your access control. So this is going to be available to everybody. Anybody can see, anybody can copy it. And it's this private collaboration is where some of the money stuff comes in. We'll get back to that in a moment. So go ahead and create a new scene. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so here we are, and we're basically sitting with absolutely nothing in the scene. We're in the model view, and you've got your various different options across the top here. So we could create a tetrahedron, an octahedron, a circle, cylinder, a cone, a sphere, etc. So let's go ahead and just create a sphere in the scene. So there you can see the end result. You can go in wireframe or otherwise. We can model full screen if we wish to. And here are your various different modeling options. So right now we are in object mode. We can of course switch to individual face mode and then select our face accordingly. Control to multi-select. Like so, and then you see you've got your various different modeling options available. The majority of what you actually would expect are here, including some advanced texturing tools, selection tools. You can select based off the angle, change your selection between vertices and faces or edges, etc. So you can see your selection. So I just wanted to do edges instead. It will now select the individual edges, or I can go back to faces, which is kind of interesting in the end result there, but let's go on. There's only a few tools I've found missing. There's no freeform knife tool, which is kind of annoying, and there's no edge bevel tool, which is also kind of annoying. But for the most part, the modeling tools you expect to be there are in fact. At the same time, it's not really or obvious that you're running in a browser most of the time. If I go ahead and hit F11, so we're going to go full screen on this guy, it feels just like you're using a normal 3D app. So I'm going to go back. There's my selection again. Same time, right click, you get a context menu, your various different options available. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do an extrude on my selection, and there you can see the end result. We can modify it over here, etc. And that's essentially it. So you can see your various different face modeling tools. So there is a face bevel, which does weird things in that particular case. The nice thing here you'll also see is I just did Control Z. So you've got your full redo and undo stack as well. We switch over to edge mode. You'll see we've got different tools there. Split edge, you've got bridge tools, etc. You can easily merge multiple objects together. So we could clone this guy, create another one, and bridge these two faces. No problems at all. You can select an individual face like so, and delete it to open it up, so then we've got the surrounding edges around it. We could then, of course, select those particular edges and create that face again. So here we'll switch over to vertices mode. You can see you've got, so there's weld, for example. So I'll grab, oops, so used to Blunder's hotkeys, I'm making a monk of things. So we'll grab all those guys, we'll weld them. So there you go. We've just created a single vertex out of that. Over here you can see your modifier stack that's been applied to your particular mesh. I can't get into too much detail here because this is a fairly typical modeling program, but if you've got no experience with modeling, a lot of this is going to be completely alien to you, whereas if you do have experience with modeling, this will be immediately obvious how things work. So a bit of a tightrope walk there in terms of what I can do. But as you can see, you've got a relatively full functioning modeling application here. We've also got the ability to select, so we can do edge loops, edge rings, border, and all borders. So your typical selection functions are all there, which of course works well if you're in edge mode. So I'll grab that guy right there, and then we can say go select edge loop, like so. We should have the ability to insert edge loops. I'm not sure where that went though. We can do things, we can do a connection, we can split faces, your typical modeling task. Now on top of modeling, we've also got animation abilities, but it's fairly primitive. So you can set keyframes and jump between keyframes. Your keyframes are down here, so here's your typical timeline. And then finally we get into, oops, I did not want layout. So this is more for, you know, organizing your world. You can bring in models and assets like so. So if we wanted to bring in that guy, I should be able to just, thought I could drag and drop. Ah, there we go. So there's my bag chair sitting in our world. Let me just move that guy out. So, you know, if you are using this as a world editing type tool, you can bring in your various model from your library down here. And we'll get back to the library in a second because the library is a pretty comprehensive and cool feature. Now back to our model over here. Let's select it. You'll also see we can come in here and we can all right, where did you go? UVs, and we'll create a UV map on that guy. So now this guy is UV mapped. Now planner does not make a lot of sense. Spherical does, however. So now we have spherical mapping on this guy, auto fit, and there. So now we have spherical texture map already assigned. On top we can do various different options. So you've got your standard UV maps here. You can planner, box, cylindrical, and spherical. At the same time, you can also do multi-mapping. So that's the way you could cut your particular shape up into different pieces. Now that we have that particular map done, we could go back to our rendering view. And then you'll see over here we have our material library. Actually, I'm going to go back to the model view. It's easier to do it this way. Model view, material. So with our sphere collected, oh, all right. Material, and we go ahead and, okay, 1 second. All right, I gotta go ahead and create a new material. So render material, actually I'll bring one in from the browser. So import material, and you're gonna see the same basic view that we saw a second ago. There's a bit of a lag while it's loading these things up. But let's say we wanted to make red bricks our material. So we brought that material in, so now you can see it's hooked up there, and there is the end result. And of course we could go back and tweak the UV settings on this guy. So we go back to object mode, UV map. Where did you go? Come on. There we go. So here are your options. So if we wanted to tile it, we could. Like so, and there is your end result. So you've got texturing built in. Again, there is a multi-map support here as well. So when I went ahead and created the map, instead of a normal material, I could actually have gone in and created a multi-IT material. We've also got cube maps. We have physical for physical-based rendering. And then, of course, we got our advanced V-Ray. So V-Ray is the built-in rendering engine here. You see we've got bump map, card paint, diffuse glass, etc. So say we wanted to make a glass shader in this guy instead. Go in, pick glass, and then we can, change the various properties of our glass, such as its transparency. That's a transparency map, so we can set the transparency value. Like so, generally that's a RGB value, but here, let's go over here. So very transparent, etc. So you've got a lot of control over the rendering and over the particular maps that are assigned to this thing. Now, at the end of the day, though, you're probably a game developer like myself, so you want to know what you can actually export your end result out as. And you've got two options or two approaches to this. So first off, make sure you're in object mode. So we could either, so they say we want to export this beanbag we brought in. You can come in here and go File, and you can export either selected or all. And here you can see your various different results. So we've got FBX, Blender, Clara or DAE file, STL, and then we've got a couple of OBJ format. So you can get it out to basically every single existing editor there is out there under the sun right now. On top of that, we've also got Babylon.js, 3JS, and then Web3D integration right in here. And if you've never heard of it, 3JS and Babylon are both HTML5 based 3D game engines or frameworks. So it'll natively support exporting directly to those formats, which is pretty powerful, especially if you are working in those formats. But if you are instead working in Unity, you can easily bring it out into FBX format, import it into Unity, and works flawlessly. Now I did a couple of tests and I got good results. It actually came out pretty much like it looks here. So I was impressed with how things did turn out when I did exports. And that's one of those areas where a lot of these programs can often let you down. Now, I pretend no particular mastery of this program. It's something I've played around with a little bit and not a whole lot more. Now, the nice thing here is you can actually share and collaborate. So if I wanted to bring in other collaborators, other people that can actually edit this, I can bring them in this way. So basically invite them via their username or email address here and then share. Then they've got the ability to come in and edit this file and work on this project with you, etc. I don't think there's live editing support, but I'm not sure either way. So I don't know if you can both work at the same time. If you can, that's actually a cooler feature, but I haven't got another person to actually test that out with. But this is built for, your document is in the cloud. Teams can very easily work on and share and use the same assets. So if that's the world you're working in, this is a very useful tool. Now myself, I've spent years learning, Blender or Max or Maya or various different 3D applications. And for the most part, that's where I would still go with for my daily use. But this is actually full functioning. So if you are looking for something and you want to work from a browser, or more importantly, you're on a development machine that's your only option, such as a Chromebook, for example, this is an excellent option. Is it as good as a standalone? Probably not, but it's still, it's definitely a tool for being put in the toolbox. And if you're working in one of those naturally supported engines, or for some reason working in a browser is ideal for you, again, this is a zero install footprint too. So if you happen to be at a client's or at someone else's house, you just need a browser with WebGL support, and you can be in and editing. So there definitely are reasons to work in such an environment. But it's not going to be the native experience, except in the areas where it excels, obviously. Now, the next area we're going to get to, I'm going to come out of full screen. I'm going to look at the last aspect of the Clara.io before we get onto the building, and that is the model library. And this is actually a pretty cool feature. This is 100,000 plus free 3D models in OBJ, Blend, STL, FBX, DAE, Babylon JS, 3JS formats for use in Clara.io, Unity 3D, Blender, SketchUp, Cinema 4D, 3ds Max, and Maya. So basically, this is a gigantic library of models of stuff. So let's say we want a sword. We'll pick the sword filter here. And here you can see the various things that, so you're getting sword art versus just swords. And your quality is a little random. Some are good, some are crap. Kind of varies massively. But as you can see here, we have 392 pages that fit the description sword. And again, a lot of repetition here, needs a little bit of editing. We can come back here and go search for jets instead. Here we got our 3 different options for jets. Let's say you needed a tree for your game. Come in and search for tree. You had various different tree options. Say you found a tree that you actually liked, so like this guy. Let's go ahead and download that. And now you've got your various options for actually bringing that model down. So I can come in here, I can go to download. I can go download. All right, come on. Well, I have a feeling that Windows Defender is going to be sitting there. I got a feeling Windows Defender just came up. So go to download, and then you can see you can select the various different formats you want it to come down as, and it will go ahead and download. You can see there's a preview here of the object being shown in 3D rotated. Or if you wanted to start working with this guy directly, go to Edit Online, and it'll create a new scene for you. So we create a tree 5, bring it up, and in we go. Eventually. Oh, I should pay more attention to down here. All right, so there is our asset brought in, and it's really that easy. So there is that huge library. That library is quite powerful. You can bring and spawn off any of the assets from it, bring them into the editor, modify them as you need. You can now export it to pretty much any game engine you want. Now again, the quality of the assets in there is pretty random. Some are good, some are not so good. You can come in here, you can see the various objects that make it up. For example, I could grab this. Am I in edit mode? Come on. All right. So grab this plane that it's sitting on. Oh, I don't have to. There is no plane. Let me see. So materials. Oh, so it's a single object right there. Selected that way. You see down here the materials that go into making it up. So there is the trunk. There's a wire, and then there is a multi-material, and here are the various different pieces. So here you can see the multi-material brings the trunk and the wire together to make the end result. So it is pretty impressive with what it can do, and that library makes it even better. So let me just head on back. Oops, more so, and more so. So this library itself is kind of invaluable. You need a house for your game. Here is a selection of houses, and as again you can see, there's 150 different houses available. So there's no excuse for programmer art in this day and age anymore. You can probably find placeholders for just about everything you need here. And then generally, again, these licenses are all under Creative Commons. I was hoping I could actually pull up a light here. Let me just try and get a license up. License, yeah. So there you can see the particular license for this guy is by NCSA. And then here you can see the particular details of that particular so that's non-commercial share alike. So that's a little tricky because it's not actually going to enable you to use it in a game. So they're all Creative Commons licenses to some degree, but some of them may not be commercial licenses. So there is a bit of a gotcha there. But that library, again, especially if you just need placeholder art for your game, or if you're learning the tenements of modeling and you just want to bring stuff in to work with and see how other people have done it, it's pretty powerful. It's pretty cool, and it's free. So that part's definitely nice. Now the question mark is going to come up: how is Clara.io making their money? And that's where this comes in. So you've got your free tier. Everything we just saw today was on the free tier. I guess we'll call it basic. And your catches is it's got 5 gigs of cloud storage, unlimited public scenes, and here's where most of you are going to get caught. 10 private scenes. So you can only have up to 10 scenes private archive. So everything you do is going to be publicly available. So if you're working on a closed source, closed project, obviously this isn't going to work for you, and you're going to have to jump up to a commercial tier. Now on top of that, we get into some of this rendering stuff. And we saw render. You can actually do it. So on top, yeah, really, there's no difference to the standard plan. But when you get into the professional plan, you've got advanced rendering options. You've got unlimited personal rendering, which is being done on their server end, which I think is what we did earlier. Is considered to be 24 hours of rendering per day. So that was when their server was rendering for us and created that image for us in the background. You're limited to an hour of rendering time otherwise. A lot of people aren't actually doing renders, so that shouldn't be a huge deal. But if the V-Ray stuff is really important to you, you're going to have to upgrade your cost as well there to actually, I think, Pro to really get the V-Ray stuff. But the big thing is going to be either your storage. You need 4 times as much on the $10 a month, but the big one is going to be private scenes. So if you want to work on a project in, privacy of your own home, kind of away from prying eyes, not have other people be able to share and use your work, you're going to want to have this private scenes, especially, you're going to hit a 10 limit pretty fast if you're working on a game. So that's going to be where your $10 a month comes in. And then most of this guy here is for support, custom rendering, unlimited rendering, etc. on the back end. So if you're using this for rendering heavily, then you're into the $100 a month professional tier. But for the most part, for game developers, you'll either be the free tier will work for you, or you need more than 10 scenes on the go, or you need more than 5 gigabytes of storage, in which case you're looking at $10 a month. But all told, that's very, very reasonable pricing in my humble opinion. So this is going to be a tool, so I'm going to appeal to some of you, not to others. Obviously, I actually tend to find browser-based tools are very divisive in their appeal. Some people love working from the browser. Some people look at it and go, what the hell is the point? But I think even if you're not that interested in Clara.io, I think the tool, I think the library itself, the Clara.io library, is definitely something that all of you should be aware of, even if it's just a source for programmer art. It's nice to have this export options into just about everything you'll want to work with, especially if you are working with Babylon.js, which is a series I'm about to do a tutorial on, or 3JS, for example. It's you have direct file support right here in the export, and otherwise, again, you've got the major game format in here as well, and it does do a pretty good job on its export. So all told, it's a really polished package with no real costs on the front end. This free tier is very generous in what it provides, and you can have 100% feel for what is available there. So if what you saw today looks cool, do be sure to check it out. It might be a new tool in your arsenal. I hope you guys found that useful. If you did, please do click like. And of course, we cover all kinds of game development technology here. Some of it in the browser, some of it not. Reviews, tutorials, you name it. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, please do click subscribe, and hopefully we keep you interested. That's it for now. See you all later. Goodbye.